Hi, Kenny. Voter being Devil's Digest. I know that when you make a decision in the heat of the moment of a game versus watching film, maybe you have a different perspective on it. So bleeding the clock at the end, as well as two decisions, deep in BYU territory to go for it on fourth down, not to make the field goal. Different perspective after you view the film?
Fourth down's definitely not. 100% would do that 10 out of 10 times in those games. Obviously, they didn't work, so that's not ideal. If I could go back knowing they wouldn't work, I would definitely change my mind. But not knowing if they would work or not, just 100% go for it. Definitely had. The end of the game was not good at all. I got to do a way better job with the team at the end of the game. That was obviously not good. Probably the worst case scenario. Not ideal.
Chris? Would you have done the same thing though, or would you have done something differently after you went back and thought about it?
Yeah, obviously it worked horribly. If we're up, I probably would have tried to score and taken the risk of fumbling over taking the what we did. Now if it's a 1-point lead, we have to do what we did. And that's where we got to get better. I got to coach that scenario better. I think that's the biggest takeaway is I didn't do a good enough job throughout the week, and I haven't been doing a good enough job throughout the week of those scenarios at the end of the game. Even the Hail Mary, we just didn't do a good enough job with it. So I think for me, when you look at both sides of the ball didn't do a good enough job at an end of the game scenario, right? That's a reflection of me not getting those reps in practice, whether it's in walkthrough mode, whether it's in full speed mode, enough to be able to execute, because we're going to need both those situations eventually to win a football game. And so we got to do better. And it's literally on me because, I have had on the sheet since Thursday, we should do a situational walkthrough. And, I cut that before the season. And I had it as my plan of this is what I want to do after some off-season studies with coaches. And I took that out to cut time. And now looking back, it's a horrible decision to cut that out. And it almost came back to bite us. So I got to do a better job. We're going to start adding that walkthrough into Thursdays.
Just to follow up on that, if the team had executed well what you were trying to do, you think that it would have worked without a hitch?
I don't like blaming. Yeah, yes. If our plays are executed perfectly, they better work every time. Whether it's 1st and 10 or 2nd and 10, I think the great challenge in coaching is knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. And, I think the problem for me is knowing that I didn't invest a lot of time into that scenario and then putting our guys in a position to go run a scenario that we didn't invest a lot of time in, instead of just turning around and hitting at the scout. That was very stupid. And I think that's the frustrating part is if we would have had more time on task in that situational football that we do practice, but not the amount of time we should have, I don't think we'd be having this conversation. But it's my job as a head coach to know what is best for our football team. And what was best for our football team was to not do what I did.
Blake and Doug.
Hey Kenny, Blake being Sundevils source.
How are the Olympics?
They're a lot of fun. Looking at going into the Territorial Cup last year to going into the Territorial Cup this year, has the message changed to the team at all, given outside implications, or does it remain the same?
Yeah, it's about us going and playing and preparing like we do. And like I've said to the team since I think week 3 is, every game you win makes the next game the most important game. And the more time you win, the next game is more important. Doesn't matter who you play, doesn't matter where you play. It's the most important game because you won the last one. And if you go and win, then the next game is more important than the game you just played. This is the most important game on our schedule because we put ourselves in position for it to matter, not just from a rivalry perspective, but from a bigger perspective of achieving other aspirations. I definitely feel like the educating people, in this transfer portal age on the significance of this game is something that we're going to do. We're going to bring in, we don't know what former player yet. I think we've already asked one guy. Hopefully he says yes. I don't want to say his name because I don't want to call him out if he says no. But if he says yes, to come and talk to our guys about it and about just the history of the game so our guys can be educated on it. And then one thing that we're going to start doing is we're going to start doing educational sessions in the off season about this rivalry instead of having to do it the week of the game and distracting the guys from the real thing, which is just go play smart, tough, take care of the football, and worry about the team. So I think that's where I'm going to grow next year, is really educate these guys in the rivalry when they get into the program, almost like a tutorial on why this game matters, but not do it the week of the game. Do it leading up in the offseason.
Doug, Elliott, Jordan.
Doug Franz Unplugged podcast. Rewatching the game yesterday, there was a good camera shot of Sam all over Scat on the late fourth down that didn't work. Was that leadership on his part showing that somebody went the wrong way, came with the wrong way?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like I say, we were in a huddle for 3 minutes there, 2 minutes there. Obviously, we're going to call this, or we're going to call that, or we're going to call this, or we're going to call that. So I think I kind of confused our guys, to be brutally honest, confused our guys a little bit in that scenario. And, when you don't have everybody doing the same thing, not everybody's on the same page. And when not everybody's on the same page, I think that's a reflection of coaching. Like, it's our job to make sure people execute. So, we didn't execute it poorly, but like I said, we should never not execute a play poorly coming off the sidelines. So I got to do a better job. We got to do a better job coming off the sideline, making sure we're on the same page. I mean, it's 4th and 1. We can't not be on the same page, and that starts and ends with me.
And a couple rules geek questions. As long as you have 7 men on the line of scrimmage, you can do whatever you want with the other 4. So you could have Sam as the personal protector and Jordan as the punter. Snap
100%.
it and throw it. He's got 15 seconds to run out the back of the end zone.
100%. We 100%. Yeah. We have a play called Time Killer. It's very similar to that.
And then untimed down on a penalty of the offense. If it's lost it down, if that clock would have run out but intentional grounding would have been called, does BYU get an untimed down, or is there no such thing as an untimed down on an offensive penalty?
So it's funny. You can go back to that happened at Oklahoma State. Coach Arroyo was the offensive coordinator for that, if you remember. And then they got a Hail Mary. I think it was Western Michigan. They got a Hail Mary called on them, and they ruled that the ruling was wrong, and they shouldn't have got that last play. So if it would have, if it's and buts were candy and nuts, whatever that saying is. But that situation has already happened, and to answer your question, it's kind of crazy. But go back and watch that game, because that was kind of what you're asking there, and that was ruled incorrectly at that time, and they've gotten that cleaned up.
Elliott, Jordan, Matt.
Coach, you talked about end-of-game execution, but kind of looking at it in an even bigger picture. You guys are getting off to hot starts in the past couple of games against ranked opponents, and then that second half has been a little bit more of a struggle. Why do you think that things have been clicking so much at the beginning of these games, and what's kind of changed going to that second half?
Yeah, it's funny. So I brought up, well, it's not funny, but I brought up that with the team today, because I think we play with a chip on our shoulder. We play really hard. And I think sometimes when we think we're ready to knock somebody out and they hit us back, well, we thought it was just going to continue to go this unbelievable way. And then they get us against the ropes, and we've struggled to kind of bounce back. Now, at the end of the day, credit to our guys, they found ways to win the games. But we've had 2 opportunities in 2 straight weeks with 3 possession leads to go up 4 possessions with the ball in the middle of the 3rd quarter. We fumbled one. We dropped the ball on another, and we're just that close. And then we've given up 2 90-plus yard drives in the second half, right, in quick amounts of time. And I think for us, we got to find a way, similar to winning on the road. Now, how do we find a way to put a team away? We didn't put Mississippi State away when we could have. We've had opportunities to put teams away, and we're just trying to find out how to do that. And I know it's kind of weird. Because we are having, we're winning some games, but we're still in year 2, and there's still a lot of things that we're learning how to do. We're learning how to win on the road, which we did. We're learning we still haven't learned how to close out or really step on an opponent, when we have some momentum in the second half. We've learned how to win at the end of games, right? We've learned how to fight back if we get punched in the face early, but we haven't learned how to fight back if we get punched in the face, right, after we've had success. So I think we're still learning how to just do that. And I don't know a better way to do it. We need to do it. Because if we do it, our guys will have that confidence like, oh, this is what it looks like. But we have to, that's 3 games this year out of 11 where we've had an ability to come out and be like, boom. And we haven't. So us as staff, part of that is probably me. I'm a contrary to what people believe, I'm a conservative person, right? So I get in these like, hey, keep the ball on the ground, don't allow a big play, and mathematically the game should be over. As long as we don't give up a big play and we keep the clock running, the game's going to be over. Which, yes, it's worked. Does it give us all heart attacks? Yes. But we just got to be able to finish in those scenarios and then play that new strategy. Because I will say this, I'm not a fan of teams that just sling the ball around with 3-possession leads. I think you lose way more games than you win. And even though our games have been ugly at the end, like we've still won those games. It's better than the alternative.
Jordan, Max, Fletcher, Jake.
Hey, Jordan here, Sports 360 Easy. You mentioned educating players in the offseason about this rivalry. If you're building out this tutorial of that rivalry, what are the first couple lessons? What are the first couple examples you would want to show how unique this rivalry is?
Yeah, I think obviously it's in the same state, right? That's a rivalry. That's the first step, right? Not every rivalry is interstate. 2, a lot of their alumni live with our alumni within the same community, right? So now not only is it's not like state boundaries, it's almost like brother, sister, because you all live together. Everybody lives in the same valley together, right? You're like, oh, where'd you go to school? It's usually one of, those 2 options are probably the answer. So I would say it's very like deep because how closely connected the 2 schools are with their fan bases. And then I would just go through like us getting our butt kicked last year. That would be like what I would really focus on when explaining it is same state, everybody's friends with each other, like our colleagues, right? They're close to each other. Some of them live in the same house. Right now, like it's close. And then we got our butt kicked last year. We got embarrassed. So it's a game that matters. That you got your butt kicked. You got embarrassed. If you weren't here, like the other guys on our team got embarrassed. I got embarrassed. So you better have a little bit about yourself when somebody embarrasses you like that. And they got the same quarterback returning, the same wide receiver. They got a lot of the same players returning off that football team, off a team that picked us apart.
Max, Fletcher, Jake.
Hey Kenny, Max Bears, and his family. Kind of 2-part question here. Firstly, bouncing back off the rivalry, you mentioned last year kind of how important it means for you, being someone who's grown up here and who's seen the rivalry all your life. For those who maybe didn't know, can you just kind of reiterate what it means just to you personally? And secondly, obviously, you've talked about the outside noise and obviously trying to ignore it, but as of right now, do you feel like this team is currently deserving of being one of the 12 best teams in the country and competing for a national championship?
Yeah, first question, obviously, I grew up going to these games, the rivalry games. My family grew up going to the rivalry games. So, it's something that I've been, regardless of where I coach throughout the country, like I would try to watch this game. If I couldn't watch all of them, like I would try to watch this game, try to record this game. Just because it's what, if you're from Arizona, like this is like, when's the Territorial Cup? Like that's a big deal. So, from that perspective, it matters because it's something that's been a part of, Thanksgiving. I think of Thanksgiving like that's part of it to me, my entire life. And then 2, I think we'll find out. I mean, you're only as good as your next game. You're as simple as that. Like, you have to continue to prove to people constantly, right, that you're deserving of something. Do I think that the body of work that we put together is worthy of it? Yes. But do I think the body of work is worthy of it if we lose a game? No. So can you get blinded by all that? No. Like somebody asked me today, one of our players, like, so what does it take for us to get into the Big 12 title game? I still don't know. I really don't. I know this. I know we don't get in if we lose. I know that. 100% sure we don't get in if we lose. So who cares? Like, focus on the main thing, which is us getting better over and over again. And I think kind of a scapegoat answer, but that's literally all I care about. It's just being the best version of us today.
Fletcher, Jake, Colin, Elliott.
Hey Coach, Fletcher Anderson, Crockett News. From the beginning of the season to now, what do you think has been the biggest change in the team?
Confidence. I definitely think our guys were, they believed in themselves, but it wasn't like, it was like how, like, I think now it's like we can. A little bit of like, we should win, I think we can win, I think we can win, we're working hard, now it's like we can win. I think that mindset is great confidence. And when bad things happen, 2 games in a row, we pick the ball off to win the game. Right? We've gone down the field on offense to score to win a game. Like, our team is just playing really good complementary football. Really good complementary football. And I think that gives confidence to both sides. Offense, defense, special teams. It's taking all 3 phases right now for us to be where we're at. And I think that gives everybody confidence in one another. So I'd say confidence.
Jake, Colin, Elliott.
Hey Coach, Jake Sundevils Digest. You guys come up with 2 more picks this week. David Robinson winning Defensive Player of the Week. How is this group, the secondary, with all the new players coming, how have they progressed over the year and this year?
Yeah, I definitely think our disguises have gotten better throughout the season. Just the more and more you've played together. And then the more comfort in the scheme. You know, Javen's year 1 in the scheme, even though he played for Coach Ward at Washington State, so there's a little bit of carryover. But I think the consistency in the scheme and then the comfort, being able to disguise things a little bit better. And then one of those was a tip ball. I mean, we talked about on Monday that we were going to get a tip ball interception this week. That's one of our turnovers we haven't gotten. We said we got a bunch of these in spring ball. Right, we need to match the hand of the quarterback and get a tip ball interception. And for us to get that early in the game, anytime something you talk about happens, it just gives great comfort. Like, oh, whoa, we talked about that. We're going to get one. I just think that calms guys down. And I think a great play by Prince, batting it down, matching the hand of the quarterback, great play by Crook. So, and then the back end just getting more comfortable with one another.
Colin, Elliott, Justin.
Kenny, going back to last year's Territorial Cup, obviously you guys saw the best version of FIDA T-Mac. Hasn't been the same for much of the season this year. Any insights from what you've seen on watching film of why it's looked so drastically different?
I mean, T-Mac is, they're still completely, I think he's still number 1 in the country in receiving yards. I'm not positive. I mean, credit to you, T-Mac. You're number 1 in the country in receiving yards, and people are still saying you don't look the same. I don't know if that's possible. That's an incredible compliment, to be honest, to T-Mac, that he is the best in the country in yardage, and people still are doubting it. And I'm like, golly, this dude's unbelievable. Like, he is incredible, and they have a remarkable connection that goes back to high school. And they still have that ability, and it still flashes. They still score points in bunches when they get momentum. They're still extremely dangerous as a football team. But I think those two do have something special. I think some games, teams have bracketed them, and they've said, okay, we're not going to let you beat us. And it's really hard to beat one person in college football. It's even harder to beat 2. And T-Mac still does that at times, which is what makes him, a special player. But yeah, they're a dynamic duo.
Any surprise at all that T-Mac, said he's playing obviously at the stage of college football where people kind of look out for themselves?
I don't. I think you got to give both of those kids you just mentioned a lot of credit. They had some changes in their program, and those guys said even though they're our rival, that they wanted to stay true, they wanted to stay committed, they wanted to be a part of something. And for both of those guys to do that in this day and age, it is special. And that's something that program should really get behind and rally behind, those 2 special young men, especially in today's era. And there's no doubt in my mind that those 2 are going to finish this season, and that those 2 are going to play as hard as they can because they have passion for their program. They had a lot of opportunities this offseason, and they said, no, this is where they want to be. And you have to respect that. You have to respect 2 kids that know what they want at their age and that are going to finish through with it. And that's the challenge this week is a rivalry game. I think the last time Arizona State was undefeated at home was 2004. They were the 17th ranked team in the country, and they traveled to Arizona, and they lost. It's a rivalry game. Anything happens in a rivalry game.
Elliot, Justin, Blake.
I think. I don't know if it was at Arizona or at home. I don't know.
Coach, you talked about how you're not really focused too much on the Big 12 title implications and how you're not in if you lose. What are your thoughts to the, albeit slim possibility that you guys win this game? You might be the highest ranked team in the Big 12, and there's still a very slight possibility that you don't even get to play for a Big 12 championship.
Honestly, I haven't even thought about it. I'm a positive thinker. Now, if you ask that question to my wife, she could probably give you a good answer. She always thinks about what's the worst thing that can happen. I always think about what's the best thing that can happen, right? That's why we've been together since we were 17, since high school, is because we're perfect for each other. I don't think about negative. Like, what's the best thing? What's the best possible outcome? That's what's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, well, now what's the best possible outcome? And if just think like that over and over again, and it's contagious.
Justin.
Hey, Coach. Trenton Bourget is one of the few guys who's kind of stuck it out here, and one of the guys that goes under the radar as a member of the Leadership Council. So, what is his role as a leader kind of meant for this team, and what sort of excites you about his future potentially going down the path of being a coach?
Yeah, obviously Trenton's a great leader, voted on the Leadership Council again. I mean, he was a captain for the game last week. Made him a captain just because of what he's done for this program. I think it was important for people to see him step out in that field on senior night and go be a part of the coin toss for what he's done for the program, what he's done for the community. I just think that entire family is all in ASU, all in Sundevils. They've got great passion, great confidence, a great voice for the program. And I think Trenton's going to be a phenomenal coach in the next chapter of his life. He already is. He's been on the 7-on-7 circuit, dicing people up left and right. And when we have our games out there where we have our younger guys scrimmage, he calls the plays for us. So we're already getting him involved, and I'm just blessed to have him part of the program.
Last couple questions, Blake, Fletcher, and Jordan.
Last couple of road trips have been successful. You guys get the victory and things like that. Previous couple, tough to get that physicality going. What do you think has changed in this latter part of the season going on the road that's helped you guys to find your groove?
I don't know. I really don't. Our guys are, I don't know. I think maybe we're more comfortable on the road. I think our guys are getting just, they get used to it. They realize it's still football. But I couldn't give you, I give them an elite pep talk. I think that's really what it comes down to. My pep talk pregame is just so good. I don't even talk to the guys. Once Saturday hits, my last time I actually talked to the team together was Friday night. I don't talk to the team all together at all on Saturday, so I really don't know what it is. It's those guys just growing together, coming together, and trying to achieve something special. And it's a credit to them.
Question, Jordan.
What do you think the biggest impact of having guys like Xavier Guillory and Javon Robinson making those crucial plays down the stretch of these big games?
Yeah, so happy for Guillory. He's battled injuries, he's battled hamstrings. Last year he battled, and for him to make that play on senior night, critical play in the game, to swing the momentum back in our side was huge. And then for Javen, same deal. He's battling an injury the last few weeks. For him to come back and make that play at the end was remarkable. And on that, one thing is that program we played, their head coach is an incredible human being. He is, the definition of what college coaching's about. The way that their quarterbacks sprint down the field, no quit, no fight. Their entire team, the way they fought for him the entire game and fought for that program, that's an unbelievable program. And that's an unbelievable culture. And you could tell how good that culture was by how close that game was. And that's a phenomenal team that, I hope we don't have to see again because they're a really good football team led by an incredible person, and the heart. They got the heart of a champion, and I have nothing but respect for BYU in that program.
Last question, Jordan.
Meltman's had a couple big third down conversions the past couple of weeks. Just what does he bring to this wide receiver group and this team on the leadership council?
Consistency. He is consistent. Like I don't know if I've ever seen him not be the exact same person every single day. It's just like every day you know what you're going to get from Stonewall, and it's simple. Consistency wins, and he's been consistent. Awesome. Last thing I'd like to say is I want to give President Crow, Dr. Rund, Graham Rossini a shout out. I think for the one of the few times I can honestly say their passion this season, in this last year, since they've really changed the model of athletics here. And credit to them for changing the model of how they wanted to get athletics accomplished here. And for us to be able to get our coordinators locked up, have other position coaches locked up, working on getting our other position coaches locked up currently, for them to have the foresight, to have the direction to want to make those changes, want to get things done, and get them done swiftly and smoothly, is a credit to all three of those guys, because in the new model, all three of those guys are involved in that. And I think, I'm going to sit up here and people are going to say, oh, yay, the football coach. I'm just the middleman between those three and the players and the coaches. And those three supporting at the level that they're supporting right now and backing the program at the level that they're backing it to hopefully keep our staff and keep our players consistent. I think that's a special combination right now. And I think as long as we stay the course, I think that's going to be a special combination for the future.